What is up, Gundam Meisters and Innovators? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are returning to AD 2307. Last time, Tieria was forced into a situation where he had to use Natalie, the mobile suit underneath Virtue. Hallelujah was also brought forth as Soma unlocked something from Hallelujah's past. This time, we will see Marina and her nation of Azadistan finally receive the aid that she's been looking for. However, this aid will lead to many more problems for the young princess. So let's dive into this. At the Union's Anti-Gundam Investigative Task Force, Graham and his men Howard and Daryl are talking about the Gundam being able to take on 20 Tierans with ease. Of course, they are talking about Tieria using Natalie for the first time. Graham believes that it is up to him and his flag fighters to take down the Gundams. Billy and Eichmann discuss the GM particles. Billy wonders why Aeolia Schimberg wants to give up war. Eichmann thinks that it is a warning that war must not spread into space with humanity, almost as if it were a disease. On the mission, Tieria is being uptight for things going wrong during the previous mission. They all make fun of him after he leaves. Yeah, bitch-ass cardigan-wearing pink-ass bitch. Hallelujah is in his quarters. He is certain that the pilot of the Tieran Tautsu is just like him. We get flashes of his past. At the HRL, Sergei is being chastised by his superior officer Kim, but he is not being taken off the program. They didn't get enough data for how many lives they lost, but they don't think they should try to capture the Gundam anymore. One of the super soldier scientists is monitoring the communications of Hallelujah and notes that the pilot was affected by quantum brainwaves due to his pain and unique reaction. He finds one match to a former super soldier, one boy whose quantum brainwaves created a second personality with ferocious tendencies. He was eventually disposed of. Sergei calls in and wonders if he found any correlations between the Gundam pilot and the super soldier program. However, the scientist lies and tells him that he hasn't found anything. Hallelujah wonders if he should kill the super soldiers that are just like him. Hallelujah appears to him and tells him that he knows very well they can't keep super soldiers hostage and they must be put down. Hallelujah yells out to himself like a crazy person. Setsuna overhears him. In Azadistan, Alejandro is helping out Marina and her nation. They are planning on putting solar receivers throughout the nation to assist with their power needs. Alejandro and the UN wants to use Azadistan as an example of how to bring peace in the Middle East. I can't even say it with a straight face. It's great. They suggest that she goes to the construction site of the solar receivers, but Marina's assistant, Shirin, comes in and tells her that that is a good way to get Marina assassinated. Hallelujah talks to Sumeragi. He proposes a mission to her and Veda, a mission to eradicate his past. He gives Sumeragi this universe's version of a USB drive with data regarding the HRL Super Soldier program. Back with Luis and Saji in Japan, Saji tries to impress Luis's mother with a Japanese home-cooked meal. She is mildly impressed. Saji's sister Kinoe is trying to track down information regarding Aeolia Schimberg. Her partner is nervous following the Union's national security agents. Veda decided that Hallelujah's mission is worth pursuing, but Sumeragi makes absolutely sure that he is up to the task since it is tied to his past. He doesn't have a problem and wants to face it head on. Setsuna and Lock-On are assigned a mission to head down to Earth and deal with the South African War. The Ptolemaeus begins heading to the HRL colony at L4 where the super soldier program was created. Inside his supercomputer pod that communicates with Veda, Tieria spies on Sumeragi and Hallelujah's conversation. You can't trust Innovades when it comes to internet security, man. In South Africa, Setsuna stabs a bunch of amphs, while Lock-On does a little sniping. In space, Kyrios and Virtue Gundam launch and head to the HRL space colony Quan Chi. Virtue handles the mobile suits on the outside of the colony, while Kyrios goes inside. Hallelujah mentions something you don't hear too often. Once he enters the colony, he has to adjust his ambac system to rotate at the same rate as the colony to compensate for the artificial gravitational pull. When he enters the colony, quantum waves are emitted and he feels pain. Hallelujah reaches out to him and makes fun of him for hesitating. Hallelujah calls him a hypocrite and says not to show any mercy. He sees flashbacks of Hallelujah killing other super soldier children. He is overwhelmed by the thoughts of his past. He begins firing on the colony and the Super Soldier Institute. At HRL, Sergei approaches the scientist and tells him that the Gundam pilot attacked the Super Soldier Institute. It is clear that the Gundam pilot was a former super soldier candidate and that he withheld information from Sergei. He uses his power to shut down the super soldier program and arrests the scientist. On the Ptolemaeus, Hallelujah asks Sumeragi for a drink. She says no because he is underage, but he just turned 20 a few minutes ago. I talked in the last Iron Mustang video about Hatachi and the importance of 20 years of age. Go check that out. The two share a drink together. He wonders why people drink something so bitter. In a mosque in Azadistan, the conservatives are upset that Marina is disturbing God's will. Now that she is receiving help from the UN, they believe that their country will become reformists and fall, just like Krugis once did. They are all looking to Rassam Assad Rashmati for words of wisdom. This man maintains some semblance of peace amongst the conservative party of his nation. He will soon fall, and the people will once again resort to war to achieve their goals. Yeah, that never happens in real life. Suddenly, several bandits come in with guns. Over the past few decades, the Middle East has gone through much turmoil. You think they are going through trouble now when they actually have oil? Wait until the solar tower is created, which eliminates the world's need for oil. Because of this, the region broke out into wars, and many areas dissolved and reunited over the years, just constantly absorbing and breaking off with one another. This became the Solar Power Wars. 6 years ago, we witnessed this happen to Setsina's homeland of Krugis. Azadistan took advantage of a time of turmoil and absorbed the territory while restoring their monarchy. Because of this, modern-day Azadistan is now broken up into two religious sects. Yep, not like real life at all. Civil unrest continues as some people demand that the UN leave the territory. You think this UN actually has power in this universe, unlike our UN? Oh, got him! Take that, world leaders! Wang and Hong Long are trying to get into contact with the Ptolemies, but they are still making their return from HRL. They are concerned about civil war breaking out. Alejandro contacts Wang and lets her know that he plans on staying in the Middle East for now, and he wants to see how this plays out with his own eyes. Kino and his workmates are still investigating Aeolia Schoenberg. They found out that 138 engineers and doctors disappeared around Aeolia's time. The newsroom gets word that Rashmati has been kidnapped.
あなたサジ君って言ったわよね。
You know his name. It's been a few days. She's just trying to be rude on purpose now. Marina remembers a time when she met with Rashmati before becoming the princess of the newly formed Azadistan. He tells her that in order to prevent her from committing violence, there must be a figure who could take in their feelings and calm their fears. The conservatives are boycotting Assembly of Parliament, and the reformists were secretly approached by the Union to seek military aid from them. It seems they are trying to provoke the conservatives into doing something explosive? Suicide bombing joke. No, you're right, I'm better than that. Graham's team is making its way to Azadistan. Over the Middle East, Wang picks up Setsina and Lock-On. They need to go in and find Rashmati to prevent chaos from breaking out. Setsina volunteers as this is his homeland. It seems that the reformists aren't the ones behind the kidnapping. It is either a false flag done by the conservatives themselves, or it is a third party. Setsina fits the part and heads into town. He flashes back to his childhood. Everyone seems to be looking at him. He sees a poster of Marina and recalls meeting her. A man approaches him and starts being racist. We find out that the one in charge of kidnapping Rashmati is Ali. At the solar receiver, a group of amphs begin fighting with its own people. During this time, Graham and his team come in and are confused by who is fighting who. A sniper blast begins taking out the amphs. It is Lock-On and Gundam Dynamics. Out of nowhere, Ali actually expected the Gundam and begins firing a barrage towards Lock-On. There are too many missiles for him to snipe. It hits and destroys the solar receiver. Above all the action, Graham and his team is watching. They go after Ali, but Lock-On begins shooting Graham's flag custom. He rushes towards Lock-On, closing the gap. Graham is able to kick the Gundam. The two begin using melee weapons, but Lock-On does damage to the flag. Lock-On has Hato transfer all GM particles to the weapon system, but before he fires, an emergency broadcast goes out that mobile suits are approaching the palace. The two halt their firing. 5 mobile suits have been taken from the Azadistan base. Marina knows that they are heading to the palace, and this is a coup. Graham decides to go give aid to the palace and ignore the Gundam for now. Setsina is in the city and taking care of amps, heading towards the palace. Alejandro watches him fight in the Gundam and notes he simply uses brute force. Wang tells Setsina of incoming mobile suits. He heads to the location, to Krugis, his former home. He flashes back to the past conflict and all the death. This enrages Setsina, and he goes in and destroys all of the amphs. He looks on the battlefield and sees dead children, no different than him 6 years ago. I guess except alive. The Ptolemies gets back to the Earth sphere and finally gets the message regarding the action of the Middle East. Lock-On and Dynamics flies over the former Krugis area and sees nothing but destruction and death around Setsina and Exia Gundam. Are you a Gundam or are you not? Get it together. And that will do it for this episode. It is clear that this conflict is no different than what we experience in the Middle East in real life. Evil certainly exists, but that evil prevents an even bigger evil from rising up. Once a power vacuum has been created in a region dictated by religious leaders, things start to get real messy, real fast. In our next video, Azadistan will continue its turmoil. Marina will invite Setsina and the Gundam to the palace, and we will see Ali use a new mobile armor that works with his enact. But that will do it for now, Gundam Meisters. Remember, when a nation needs aid, it usually means money is going back into the hands of your nation via the industrial military complex. Drop bombs and get paid. Peace.